Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Hey, look, there's always been conversations around Devin Haney and how he cuts down in weight, how he gains weight. People call him a weight bully. I'm going to tell you this, right? This whole thing about his weight, there's been discussions long before Gervonta Davis decided to call him, a middleweight. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you just look at the pictures, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys, right? Move this out of the way. If you just look at his face, this is him at a weigh-in. This is for the Kambosos fight, right? This is how he looks, or has been looking. He wasn't looking that gaunt. He wasn't looking that ghoulish over the last couple of years, and especially probably like 8 months, 7 months before this fight. But when he cut down for the first Kambosos fight, he looked drawn in, but he didn't look this ghoulish. But this is him, the picture next to him healthy. This is a recent image from him sitting down on a podcast with his group of guys. And you can just look at his eyes. Look at the difference of his eyes. Look at the difference of his face, his cheeks, even his forehead. That's a healthy Devin Haney. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, a healthy Devin Haney, right? He walks around easily. Where did I put that image, man? He walks around easily. People keep talking about he's a weight bully. Look, this man walks around probably at, according to him, like 170, between 170 and 175. Okay? Now, him at 170 and 175, look, I'm going to tell you right now. Maybe I should bring this over here again. I apologize. Let me show y'all something. Let's do it here. Him at 175, because he's 5'8", right? So you don't know about these guys' real height. So he's between 5'7" and 5'9". They say 5'8". So the normal weight for a guy, let's say 5'8", is 125 to 158 pounds. And then they say they're overweight. And, these standards are different. Everybody's body is different. We're all built differently. But the 154 to 190 pounds puts him overweight. But I'd say probably up to about 165, 70 pounds is the sweet spot for a guy like Devin Haney, who stands around 5'8". But the problem is this: calling him a weight bully. Well, I think it's fair for people to be concerned about him if he's really coming into the fights at 70 pounds, 180 pounds. But the reality is this: Devin Haney comes into the fight no more than a middleweight. And he doesn't gain 25, 30 pounds. I did some research. There aren't many fighters out there who are putting on that kind of weight, especially in the lower weight classes. Now, I can tell you right now, when I just went out there and canvassed the internet, they have some information out there. They don't really have a lot of specifics on boxers, but I'll tell you right now, when you just look at fighters from across boxing and across MMA and across different combat sports, I'll tell you right now, it's not uncommon to see fighters who are weighing in at 135 pounds bubble up to 150 pounds. Now, bubble up to 148 pounds. Now, I will tell you, there have been instances where guys who weigh in 135, 134, 136 and bubble up to 157 pounds. Okay? So for guys who go out there and gain 16% of their body weight, especially weighing in at 135 and bubbling up, that's a pretty big deal. Because I'm gonna tell you why it's a big deal. For someone to go from 136 to go all the way up to 154, 155, 156, that's 2 weight divisions. Okay, and it matters. Now, when you have more weight on you, that means you should have a little more stamina, a little more punching power as well. And you should overall be the heavier fighter. And it does put the opponent at a disadvantage. Now, the thing about guys when it comes to cutting that weight, look, it's not healthy for anyone to cut the kind of weight that boxers cut. What they're doing is not normal. I don't think a lot of people understand that. That's why when they're cutting this weight, that's why they have scientists next to them. That's why they have certain specialists there. Do you guys understand? They have them there for a reason, to ensure they help these guys do it in an intelligent way, because these guys can die. And that's just a fact. They can die when it comes to cutting weight. It is not natural for them to drop the kind of weight that they drop. And remember, when they drop that weight, they do it just for a moment in time. It's simple. Just a moment in time. Now, we talk about, a lot of people still under the misconception that a guy like, say, Devin Haney, he cuts down from, let's say he's coming down from 165, 170, right? And on the way down, he gets down to 135, and then he weighs in, and then he immediately goes to rehydrate. A lot of people are under the misconception that Devin Haney goes and eats 2-3 bowls of pasta, he's drinking all of this water, and he's just, basically, overeating, over-consuming. Let me tell you, you can't do that. That is life-threatening. With rehydrating, there's a proper way to do it, right? Got to get the electrolytes back in you, etc. And a lot of times, they really encourage using a lot of fluids that help with diarrhea, because diarrhea leads to dehydration. Again, these guys are dehydrating themselves to get to a weight, to a moment in time. So that's why you see guys with not only Gatorade, but the Pedialytes and stuff like that, and just sipping it, slowly sipping it and slowly rehydrating their bodies. They may have a nice little bowl of food, but it's more carbs that they're trying to put into the system. But they're not overdoing it, and they're not eating fast. Everything is done in a methodical, a planned out process. And that is a fact. So when we talk about, okay, well, what boxers out there are actually, when they rehydrate, jump up 2 weight divisions? I'm going to tell you right now, man. When you look at the smaller weights, you got to understand what we're talking about here. So, because this is the real thing. When you look at these smaller weights, let's just understand something. Straw weight, 105. Light flyweight, 105 to 108. Flyweight, 108 to 112 pounds. So a guy who weighs in at straw weight, hell, all this man has to do is eat a potato, and he's a super flyweight. So he jumps 1, 2, he's up 3 divisions. You understand? Guys who are weighing in at 115, after they weigh in, they eat something, they can easily bump up to super flyweight. So from 112, 115 to 130 pounds, 126, 130 pounds, super featherweight and lightweight. So if you ask me, so what's the fix? I think there should be a 10-pound rehydration rule. I honestly do. I think 10 pounds. Anything over 10 pounds, and then, you got to fight at that weight class. Okay, simple. Because now we're talking about Devin Haney, the whole 135 pounds. That basically gives this man about 13 pounds that he can go up. Okay, so at 148, it puts him right there at light middleweight. Now people are talking about light middleweight because Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis is making such a big deal about Ryan Garcia coming in at 160, Devin Haney walking around at 165, 180. Crazy numbers are being thrown around, right? But let's just to kind of frame this the right way. If you talk about a guy like Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia, if they were to rehydrate, right, to 160 pounds, this is what you're talking about as far as the weight division. Golovkin, Munguia, Adamus, Smith, Lara, Eubank Jr., right? That's a lot of weight. So now you can see why there's a concern about somebody who weighs in at 135 and potentially putting 25 pounds on, because you basically got a guy who maybe only rehydrates a couple pounds fighting a damn middleweight. And that matters. And even if you come down and look at 154, Castaño, Zhu, Jermell Charlo, Smith, Harrison, you got some guys here at this weight class, and when you just think of Lubin fighting a Tank Davis or Ryan Garcia, you're like, nah, that's not something that needs to be happening at all. So I think the 10% on the weight, I think it's the answer. And to be quite frank with you, when you think about what happens in like some of these states, we already know the IBF has a rehydration clause, but when you think about some of these states and their commissions, they have these rules in place. Now, boxing, I know the IBF definitely has a rehydration clause because they've kind of got it right in that sense, where if you got a guy's weighing in to fight at 135 pounds, and then a guy comes into the fight at 160 pounds, it's definitely not not fair. It's not fair, especially if the other guy he only rehydrated 5 pounds. 140 pounder fighting a 160 pounder. It's a 20-pound difference. It really matters. But you see over there in the MMA world, that states like California, they're not allowing that crap. They are not allowing that crap. You know what I'm saying? I think over in that state, they're not allowing guys to go up more than 10% on weight. And I think that's a good thing, in my opinion. It shouldn't go up more than 10%. But when you got guys who are coming in there 19 pounds, gaining 19 pounds in 24 hours, gaining a pound per hour in a 24-hour period, that's crazy. That's crazy. But what you see is more weight being gained in the lighter weights than in the heavier weights. And the reason for that is because at the heavier weights, most of those guys are at the normal weight. You don't see a heavyweight weigh in at 250 then come in to fight at 300 or 275. You know what I'm saying? They come in whatever weight they weigh in at. They're not gaining that much because they don't have to cut much anyway. If they cut, it's by choice. But the lighter weights is where you see guys who really, matter of fact, think about Sean Porter fighting at 147. This man was fighting at 168, I believe, as an amateur. So don't tell me a guy like Sean Porter wasn't a weight bully. Now, when he rehydrated, he definitely wasn't rehydrating to 170-something pounds. But what I'm telling you is Sean Porter can easily walk around at damn light heavyweight if he wants. Remember, he played football, and he has a frame to carry that weight. But they made a conscious effort and a choice to give themselves a better chance at winning fights. Now, for those of you who are saying, what do you mean by fighters giving themselves a better chance at winning fights? Well, I'm going to tell you why. What I mean by that, and I'm going to tell you why they do it. When you talk about weight, right? If you have a guy who's at the bottom of the pile in the 100 and let me pull this back up so you guys can track what I'm saying, right? Let's just go right here. Okay, let's look right here. This is the 154-pound division. Let's see, out of these guys, who we call a weak link? Let's call Harrison a weak link, right? I'm not saying he is, but let's just call him a weak link since he just got tore out the frame by Costa Tszyu or Tim Tszyu. At 154, Harrison is probably the weak. Let's just say he's a weak link out of all these guys. He's the bottom of the pile. He can't win a fight at 154. Now, I'm just having a conversation. I'm not saying this is factual. We're just using his name for example. But if he says, you know what, I'm going to really work hard, and now I'm going to cut down and get to the 147-pound division, and he weighs in for that moment in time. Well, now Harrison, who's a much bigger fighter than most of these guys, he rehydrates after he can make the 140. If he can make the 147-pound limit, he gets to fight all these guys, and he has a good chance of beating them just because when he rehydrates, he probably rehydrates all the way up here somewhere. You guys understand? And that's what you see. These guys who are what I call them like the bottom feeders in these weight divisions, they will go down a weight division so they can become at the top of the pile and dominate because they're just bigger and stronger. You understand? And that's why it's dangerous because you got guys who can do that. And Devin Haney's a guy who can do that. He can cut that crazy amount of weight and get down to the moment of time and then rehydrate up 2 or 3 weight divisions. Like, he can do that. So that being said, is Devin Haney a weight bully? People call Earl Spence a weight bully. I mean, anybody who is really cutting all the way, cutting like 20 plus pounds to get to a weight, I think they're going to be labeled as a weight bully. If you got a guy who can cut 30 pounds to get to a weight, I think they're going to call you a weight bully. And in that case, you could have to say Adrian Broner's a weight bully. This man's walking around, it wasn't an in shape 200 plus pounds. This man was walking around about 200 pounds, cut all the way down to 147. Fortunately, he didn't get a fight. He's with Don King now. But what I'm saying is, Broner at 130, 135, 140. That's why he can't get back down there because it wasn't normal anyway, but he's gotten older. His body is growing. His metabolism slowing down. It's not easy to keep that up. And people can die. And this is not something I'm making up. I'm telling you, man. Ronda Rousey, she ended up, and this is in the MMA world, but you've seen where she had a drastic weight cut. And when she rehydrated, she still looked lethargic. She looked slow. And you've seen that happen with boxing too. If fighters cut weight and then they get in the ring and they still have a less than lackluster performance, like Chavez Jr. You know what I'm saying? When he fought Canelo. Chavez Jr., to me, he should have beat Canelo. but he just had a less than stellar performance, and it showed up there. It showed up as a result of the weight loss. And even after the fight, he still looked a bit disoriented. Same thing with Ronda Rousey. So it doesn't matter what sport you're in. A weight cut is a weight cut, and rehydration is rehydration. And how it affects the body is how it affects the body. So as far as Devin Haney and him being a weight bully, and as far as somebody being concerned about fighting him, at the end of the day, if you are, like for Tank Davis, if you're knocking out cruiserweights, right, that's what they're saying. If you can knock out light heavyweights and cruiserweights, what you worried about if somebody comes in the ring as a super welterweight or a middleweight? That's all I'm saying. Get in there and fight them. But all this A-side and draining people and trying to get an advantage, I get it. Sport of boxing, it happens. But at the end of the day, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I just don't. Hell, Gervonta Davis rehydrates too, doesn't he? He doesn't come in the ring at no damn 136. That's all I'm saying. He bubbles up in weight. He doesn't go that high, but he bubbles up. But he's 5'5" or 5'4" or something. 5'3". He's not going to come in there and bubble up to the weight that Devin Haney has to bubble up to. It is what it is. But that being said, man, y'all keep cool. There's a lot of information out here, but there's just not a lot of data on specific fighters who are known for gaining 25, 30 pounds. But I would tell you, if it does happen, it will probably happen in the lighter weights, as we've seen and we just discussed when we talked about. And what I was giving you was specific examples about fighters who actually have cut weight. And this is from across different professions. You know, you had the MMA profession, you had the boxing profession, and you had the some other combat sports. But the guys from 170 going up to 190, 135, I guess it's not uncommon to see a guy jump up 10 to 20 pounds. Like, that's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. But the sweet spot seems to be that 7 to 12 pounds seems to be the sweet spot. But it's not uncommon, depending on the person, their body, for them to rehydrate a whole lot. And I'm telling you right now, 15 plus pounds is not uncommon. 15 to 19 pounds is not uncommon. 20 plus pounds, well, that's where it kind of got to put the hairy eyeball on it. But at the end of the day, there's got to be rules in place to stop it, because they're going to keep doing it. And there's not much you can do if a guy can just discipline himself and suffer to get down to that sweet spot of a weight he shouldn't be at, and then bubble back up 25 pounds. So it can happen, and it does happen. Devin Haney is a guy who's able to do it. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm in the breeze.